Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this time we have together today. It's great to have you all. And let me start with a very simple question. Raise your hand, and I will go into gallery view so I can see you all. Raise your hand if you would like to have more impact in this world. Great, pretty much everybody. And raise your hand if you not only would like to have a greater impact in this world, but you would also like to have more time. And say, yes. Okay, then we're in good company. So maybe you are here today because as a professional or as a business owner, or even just as a stay-at-home mom, and I say just with the most humble respect, because I know how much it entails to be just a stay-at-home mom. Maybe you're here because there is something about this creative consciousness concept that tickled you. Maybe the recommendation came through channels that you trust. Maybe you just want to see, okay, can this actually do something for me or not? Can this support me? Maybe you're here because whether you're a professional, an entrepreneur, or a stay-at-home mom, something in you is awake enough to ask the question, is there a way for me to lead myself in a better way, such that the result of my interactions is such that my interactions produce better results? Or maybe you're here because you are tired of all the time and energy that gets burned to ego-driven drama. All the life force energy and time that constantly gets sucked into that space, whether it's your own ego-driven drama or that of other people. But it's always other people, right? Or maybe you are here because you committed yourself or your business or yourself as a parent to be a force for good, yet you're not quite achieving the level of impact or influence that you would like to have. And you're wondering, is there a better way for me to do things? Can I do things differently? Or yet again, maybe you're here because you've achieved everything you wanted in your life, and yet still there is something deep inside that is missing. There's a hole, a sense of emptiness. You cannot quite put your finger on what that might be. So that is why you might be here now today. Now imagine what would become possible if you had found your way to lead yourself in such a way that inspires others to follow. If you found a way to lead yourself with such humility and wisdom and courage and integrity and compassion that others are automatically inspired to follow. Imagine how that might make you a better parent. Imagine how that might make you a better partner or friend or teammate, or a better leader, more effective leader. Imagine having found something in you, a connection within you that takes you into a context that is broader than just yourself. Imagine feeling connected to something bigger than just yourself, whether it's something that you consider divine or of a noble nature, such that your story is no longer just your story. And imagine experiencing, noticing, having a much more incisive level of impact and effectiveness just by you being you. Would that be something that would be worth having? Yes or no? Raise your hand if that is a yes. Okay, great. That's also pretty unanimous. Okay, so question is, how do we get from here to here? Well, we do that by developing our multiple intelligences. And specifically, what we're going to focus on today within the field of multiple intelligences is spiritual intelligence. What do I mean by spiritual intelligence? I mean the kind of intelligence that people like Mandela and the Gandhis of this world tapped into to bring about the miraculous results that they were able to achieve. They achieved the unthinkable. But let me first give you a short overview, a short menu of what we are going to cover today. So before we even go there, Zoom interaction. I should have done this before, but let's do it now. So you might find, let's just do this brief exercise just so you get familiar with the tools we're going to use. If you look either at the top or the bottom of your screen, there is a strip, and one of the buttons, it has a pencil, and underneath it says annotate. If you want to click on that button now, and then choose the T for text, you will be able to interact with the screen in real time, like I just did here. So the question for you, there you go, exactly. You can do squiggles. Wow, that's some creative art we have. We have artists. Great. The exercise that we, just for the sake of practicing. Okay, I need to close this. Just write down, what is your favorite animal? Let's write mine. Okay, so we have horse, we have cats. Cat is quite butler, butterfly, dolphin. Wow, great animals. Rabbit is coming up, elephant, lion, dove. Wow, beautiful, beautiful choices. Lion again. Okay, great. So now you know cheat. I guess maybe it's a cheetah. I'm guessing pigeon. Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so now that you've practiced, you know what cheetah. Yeah. Great. Now that you know how this works, let's do another little exercise. I'm going to there. So if you go again on your annotate function, you will find that there is a little V, a little check mark, and that is you'll find the word written underneath is stamp. If you choose that, you can choose a stamp, whatever you like, whatever makes sense to you, and then please use the stamp to vote one of the animals that you resonate with, which is not your own. So for me, for example, is horse. There, phoenix. Okay, great.
Faiza, seems like Simon is free.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Let's just give him 1 minute or so
Yes.
for him to come back. Yeah. It's never
Okay,
happened.
Mohon bersabar.
Yeah, it never happened before.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Yeah, he's coming back. Overwhelming with the animals and the stamps. Come on, Simon. Yeah, he's coming back. Just a second.
Ya. Sedang connecting ya, Simon sedang connecting, teman-teman mohon bersabar terlebih dahulu.
Yeah.
Kita tunggu sampai Simon join kembali. Tadi pada nulis apa binatangnya?
Binatang saya ialah lion.
Oh, sama kita Kak. I also wrote lion.
Oh my gosh. I love lion. Ya, sebenarnya di London sekarang pukul 12.30, pukul 1 sekarang. Oci ya?
Ya, ya.
Sekarang pukul 1 tengah hari di London.
Oke, jadi teman-teman yang lain tadi kita sudah ada 2 aktiviti tadi. Kita memilih binatangnya apa, kemudian kita stem. Mana binatang-binatang yang resonate dengan kita, walaupun bukan kita yang pilih ya, Kak Faiza.
Ya.
Walaupun animalnya itu bukan kita yang pilih, kita resonate. Ya, saya mau tanya dulu nih sama Kak Cika. Kak Cika tadi binatangnya apa?
Beruang.
Wow.
Bear.
Beruang. Okay. And then another animal that you can resonate, Kak Cika, binatang apa yang lain walaupun tidak dipilih, tapi oleh Kak Cika ada semacam resonansi juga dengan binatang itu, dengan siapa Kak?
Rasanya lions tadi. Oci.
Okay. Beruang and then lion. So can you imagine her character? Okay. Hisham, what is the animal that you choose, Hisham?
A moment. I didn't write anything, but my beloved, my beloved cat, my beloved animal is cat, and
Yes.
the one that resonates to me would be lion because I have a Leo sign. I was born in July.
Yes.
So the Leo, Leo is my something that I can relate to. Lion.
Yeah, the Leo guy. Yes.
Yes, I'm a Leo guy. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kak Hajar, what kind of animal that you choose, Kak Hajar?
I was the dove.
Wow.
Wow.
I stem the dove. We start.
Nasi goreng pula. Nak nasi goreng.
Siapa tuh mau makan nasi goreng?
Okay, Simon sudah.
Simon is back with nasi goreng ya.
Yeah. London fried rice.
Hi Simon, you're back. Still connecting.
Still connecting.
Okay.
Still on mute.
Okay. Now you can hear me, right?
Yes, things happen, Simon.
Great. So I hope you enjoyed your break. Normally it takes a little longer for people to need a break, but I guess you had enough already. Let's jump right back in. So my apologies, there was an issue with internet. I'm now connected with my phone, so we should be good. Okay, so we were talking about the menu that may have sparked your desire for a snack, hence the break. Let's go back. Okay, so this is our menu for today. This is what we're going to cover. We're going to start with the big picture, i.e. our multiple intelligences, what they are, what that framework is about. It will be very brief. Then we're going to focus on this framework, which is spiritual intelligence, the 21 skills. And we will then go and look at this program we are presenting today, which is from victim to creative consciousness, which is specifically has been specifically designed with skill 18 in mind. We'll don't worry about that. We'll go into it in a minute. And skill 18 is being a wise and effective change agent. In the face of everything that is happening today, how can I be a wise and effective change agent? So,
Simon,
okay.
Sorry, Simon.
Yeah, can you still see me? Yeah.
Yeah, just that the slides are a bit blur.
Okay, is that because of we're going too quick, or is that?
Probably Hang on, let's see.
Okay, apologies everyone. We seem to be having some technical issues. We'll look to resolve them and move forward as soon as we can.
Yeah, so
Can you see them now, or are they still blurred?
It is still
blurred.
Yeah.
Still blurred.
It was okay when we did the tech check earlier, but
It was, but I think maybe it's connected to the fact that the internet went down, and I am now connected through my phone. I would say let's keep moving and then see if the connection comes back. We will switch back to the main connection. At the moment, for some reason, it's not working, so I don't want to take time away from everyone. Okay, so apologies everyone. We'll do the best with what we can. It's always a great attitude to have. So we keep moving forward. That is the overview of what we'll be covering today. Big picture, the frameworks, 21 skills of spiritual intelligence, and then this program. So what are multiple intelligences? There have been a number of different ways in which this has been codified, but to keep things simple, let's speak about 4 intelligences. At the basic level, at the foundational level, we have PQ, which is physical quotient, physical intelligence, meaning it's awareness of the body and skillful use of the body. That's what this energy this intelligence presides. Second level up, we have IQ, which is, you heard a lot about it. It's, mathematical verbal intelligence is what we use to solve problems, etc. One level up, again, we have EQ, and that is emotional intelligence. And that is our ability, it kind of is the intelligence that powers our ability to manage ourselves and our relationships well. And then at the higher level, there is SQ, which is spiritual intelligence. This is now the cutting edge in the field of multiple intelligences. The book about spiritual intelligence came out in 2014, so it's very, very recent work. And this is the intelligence that powers things like inner wisdom, guided by compassion, which means your ability to make wise and compassionate choices, and also equanimity, meaning your ability to maintain inner and outer peace regardless of the circumstances, including COVID and rules and regulations and restrictions. So this has been correlated with if you're familiar with the spiral dynamics, it's a theory that studies how the development of human consciousness works and what accessible. If you think of it almost like a game, like a video game, the higher you get, the more powers you gain, so to speak. And so there's a very strong correlation between this model of SQ and the spiral dynamics. We won't go deep into that, but it's a very interesting also framework to look at if you're curious. But first, let's clear the clouds from there may be some misunderstanding. So let's clear the clouds for a minute so we all know what we're talking about. The 21 skills of spiritual intelligence, as Faiza already mentioned, is not about religions. And it is not about beliefs. Your beliefs are your beliefs. This is about behaviors. So behavior means that either something is showing in the way in which you interact in the world. If it's not showing in your behavior, you're not there yet. But it's skills, not beliefs. And also there is no prescribed path that one should follow to develop these skills. This is just a framework, a map to give you clarity, and then you can choose what skills relate to you, and we will focus even more specifically at the end of today on skill 18, which is being a wise and effective change agent. Just to give you an overview. So to debunk some myths, well, spiritual intelligence, why do I need that? That's for spiritual places and churches and gurdwaras and mosques, and why do I need it? It has nothing to do with the real world, right? That's one of the arguments I often hear. Well, let me tell you, there is nothing further from the truth than that. it has a lot of bearing in the real world, and I'm going to give you some facts right now. First of all, Maslow's modification of the hierarchy of needs, if you're familiar with this framework, at the end of his life in 1971, when he published The Further Reaches of Human Nature, at the top of the pyramid, he placed self-transcendence, loss of ego and service. So it's interesting that he speaks about self-transcendence, loss of ego and service as a human need, right? This is connection to spirit. When we talk about the human spirit, this is what we're talking about. But also do this simple exercise for me. How much time do you think on average we lose to ego-driven drama on a daily basis? And you know what I mean by ego-driven drama, right?
Here we go.
Television.
Forward. First word.
Unconscious.
Duck.
Tapping.
Hanging. Vera Duck.
Computer. Braille.
Red.
Thick. Stupid.
Man.
Effeminate.
Husband.
Annoying. Idiot. Disappointment. Shame. Regret.
Profession.
Lazy.
Doctor.
Sadness.
Thank you, doctor.
Doctor is the first thing you
Still a
go when you
doctor.
look at him.
Ego-driven drama, right? Now, if you were to calibrate for yourself, whatever ego-driven drama means to you, how much time do you think you spend between, on a daily basis, what percentage of time on a scale from 0 to 100 do you assess gets burnt or lost to ego-driven drama? And please use your annotate function to annotate so that everybody can see your estimation. It's always good to have a sense of what you guys think in relation to this. So we're getting 90%. Okay, sorry, I'm just also trying to see you, so I'm not seeing you anymore. 90%, 70%. Don't be shy. What else do we have? %, 40%. Okay, great. So at the moment we have ranging from 40% to 90%. We have some 80s, some 75s, 30, I think that's probably 30 to 90 minutes a day. Okay, so that's an hour and a half. So if your waking hour is, if your waking time is 15 hours, that's around what, 10%? 80%. Okay, great. Great. Actually, the estimation, which I believe is a conservative estimate, is 10 to 30% every day. My sense is that the numbers are much closer to what you guys are saying. But even if it was just 10 to 30% every day, right? That would be between 1 and 4 months every year. Between 1 and 4 months every year are burnt to ego-driven drama, are lost to ego-driven drama. And that is between 7 to 21 years of an adult lifetime. By adult, I mean so we're not talking about childhood and teenagehood. That's when you have a right to explore ego-driven drama, right? But then from 18 onwards, if it was 10 to 30% every day, that would equate to between 7 to 21 years of your adult lifetime are burnt to ego-driven drama. What could be done with that time instead? So maybe spiritual intelligence does have an impact on real life. Also, influence and impact. One of the skills is awareness of value hierarchy. Does it make sense to you that if you have an awareness of what your values are, then you bring those values to the world, and therefore the impact that you have in the world is higher? Yes or no? And again, raise your hand if that makes sense to you. Thank you. Then awareness of life purpose, same thing. does it make sense to you that if you're clear about what your life purpose is, the level of impact and influence that you have also increases? Yes or no? Raise your hand so that we can see you. Okay, great. And awareness of the interconnectedness of all life. Does it make sense to you that the degree to which you have an awareness of how all life interconnects is the degree to which you can have more clarity and therefore also more impact on how to influence that web of life? Yes or no? Again, raise your hand. Thank you. And then being a wise and effective change agent, which is the skill that then gave birth to from victim to creative consciousness that we will talk about at the end of the presentation today. Does it make sense to you that if you had a way to be a wise and effective change agent, your influence and impact would go higher? Great. So when it becomes clear to yourself and to others that you're not just self-serving, but you're here to serve a wider picture, a wider audience, a wider collective, you automatically achieve a greater level of influence and impact. In fact, your level of influence and impact grows geometrically, grows exponentially, because you're not here to take, you're here to give, you're not here for yourself. I trust that makes sense. Also, ego and separation. The degree to which we feel separate is the degree to which we suffer. You know this intuitively. If you go back to the times when you were at school and you were not chosen for the team, it was painful. Or when your friends went out and they forgot to invite you, it was painful, right? So the degree, if you think about when you don't feel connected to your loved one, your child, your lover, when you feel, even if it's whatever degree of distance you feel, of separation you feel, there is some discomfort there. Something is uncomfortable. So the degree to which we feel separate is the degree to which we suffer. Staggering statistic, depression is Googled between 100,000 and 1 million times per month. When I checked again yesterday, the statistics in the UK, it's depression is Googled every 2 seconds. And it is not surprising given what's happening in the world right now, the circumstances we're in, unsurprising that is the case. It is estimated that in the US alone, the cost of depression is between $44 to $55 billion per year. And it is estimated that will become the most expensive illness in the next 10 years. Now, this piece of data was pre-COVID. So I don't know, updated to COVID, I don't know what the statistics will look like, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were dramatic. So again, the degree to which we can become aware of when is my ego in operation, when is my ego causing separation, is also paradoxically the degree to which we can choose to find oneness instead. It's the degree to which we can make different choices, choices that are not powered by ego and choices that do not make us feel separate. Therefore, our mental health can also increase as a result. I trust that also makes sense. Awareness of ego, self, and higher self is one of the skills in this framework. And so being able to distinguish, okay, this is the signature of my ego self, and this is the signature and texture of my higher self. Normally, ego self is the voice you hear first, and it's the loudest. Higher self tends to be the voice that you hear after the dust settled, and it's more like a quiet whisper. So awareness of ego self and higher self can significantly improve your level of mental health, even at this time. Another piece of information, the Global Peace Index, this is it's a document that is published by the Institute for Economics and Peace. In 2019, what was published in there, and it's still current relevant information, peace is dynamically associated with economic development. Now, I know that this makes sense to you intuitively if you think of a global or national scale. When there is war, what happens to the economy? Does it go up or down? Right? Now, we are clear that that is true on the global and national scale. The connection we haven't made yet is that that is also true at the group and individual level. As a global family, just to give you a little bit more information, we tend to spend $1.8 trillion per year on militarization. So if as a global family we had a budget, we are choosing to spend 1.8 trillion on militarization. Ending hunger worldwide would cost 30 billion. That's 1.7% of that budget. Clean water for all would cost 11 billion. That's 0.6% of that budget. Ending war using tried and tested peace initiatives would cost 2 billion over 10 years. So that would be like what, 200 million per year? So that's 0.1%. So if you look at the pie chart here, the green bit is militarization, what we spend on militarization, and all the other colors is what would cost us to end hunger, have clean water, and wars worldwide. Fascinating data. This comes from the Business Plan for Peace by Dr. Scilla Elworthy. She's 3 times nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. I did a course with her, and this is how I became aware of this information. She had the crazy idea to calculate, okay, on a global scale, how much would it cost us to have peace in the world, not just as a concept, but if we were to actually move in that direction, how much would it cost? She found nobody did that piece of research. She did it, she checked it a number of times, and these are the figures. So again, if peace is dynamically associated with economic development, and that is true on a global and national scale, it is also true on a group scale, meaning as an organization, the more peaceful the organization can operate, the more that impacts the bottom line. And as an individual also, the more we are storming and in chaos, the less togetherness we have to move forward in the direction, in the creative direction that we want to manifest. So the bottom line is that peace increases the bottom line. Peace increases your income, your revenue. And again, look at worldwide economies in terms of peace and in times of war to anchor that into your consciousness. Creativity and problem solving is another offspring of being peaceful or being chaos. If you're familiar with the triune brain model by Dr. Paul MacLean, we have 3 brains in one. The neocortex is the newest part of the brain, is the part of the brain where we do our most creative thinking, problem solving, etc. Mammalian brain is the part of our brain that deals with emotions and am I clear about what is my part in the group? What is my role in the group? Are the rules shared and agreed? Am I with the right people or am I with the wrong tribe? Reptilian brain is the part of the brain that is the most ancient part of the brain. It's part of the brain we share with reptiles, and it's the part of the brain that presides, essentially it keeps you alive. Temperature control, water, hunger, defending the territory, those kind of things. Now, when we are in turmoil, when we perceive that we are under attack, whether physically or emotionally or mentally, we tend to downshift to the lower parts of our brain, which means that effectively we are losing IQ points. We are becoming a little less intelligent when we shift into that place. And physiologically that happens because when we feel that when the impulse to survive is triggered, the body redirects blood flow away from the higher functions of the brain, which may not be needed in that moment, and into things like the muscles, because I might need to run, right? So there is a very specific physiological reason why this is the case. Incidentally, any fear strategy like terrorism works because we are being forced into the lower part of our brains. We are being forced to be less intelligent as a collective. And therefore that is why it's an effective strategy. If I can scare you, you immediately, automatically will become less intelligent, less critical in your thinking. Your ability to problem solve will be lowered. So again, being able to maintain inner and outer peace regardless of the circumstances also equates to a heightened level of creativity and problem solving. I hope this makes sense. If you have any burning questions as we go along, please do feel free to put your hand up, and please, Ija, if you want to moderate that, I'll be happy to take questions. We have a lot to cover, that's why I am plowing through. But why now? Why is spiritual intelligence important now? Why is it relevant? Well, again, other interesting data. As of last year, 2020, 50% of the global workforce and the largest consumer class is millennials. In 2030, there will be 75% of the global workforce and largest consumer class. And they have 4 priorities in order of importance. 1 is people. 2 is planet. 3 is purpose. And 4th is profit. So it seems that what the new global workforce and what the new consumer class is asking for is a quantum leap in our ability to think. It's almost like whatever got us this far is not going to get us through the next hurdle. And for that, it is very likely that what we need to develop is a new kind of intelligence. And it may not be by accident that it is emerging as we need it. Again, global strike for climate, 20th of September 2019. Greta's generation, they are demanding a higher level of leadership. It's not negotiable anymore. She's saying, I shouldn't be here. I should be in school learning. You should be leading the world. Where are you? Also, if we had any doubt that we are all interconnected, I think COVID came to remind us that we are. And it also kind of forced us to find a new position in the global picture. How do I adjust to this? Where am I? What in a situation where I might feel like a victim of my circumstances, how do I readjust? And finally, another thought that I would like to share here is that I don't know about you and your experience. For me, in my experience, I have never known a time of growth, breakthrough, a time of happiness, a time of fulfillment, a time of achievement that was not followed by some kind of disruption or even downright suffering. And if you think about a teething child, it wouldn't be compassionate to pretend that as the bones are coming through the flesh to create the teeth, that is not painful. It is painful, and we need to acknowledge that. But then also, what if in that evolutionary process, going through the pain of that, something becomes possible that was not possible before, i.e. having gone through that discomfort, through that suffering, through that pain, the child is now able to be independent. It no longer needs to depend on the mommy's breast and the mommy's milk. You can start eating solid food. So, my question as I look at the global events is, what if we were teething as a humanity right now? What if we're going through some level of suffering? I don't have all the answers. I would be, I don't know, maybe a millionaire if I had all those answers. But what I can see is, or at least the question that I can hold is, what if what is happening now is not because of punishments or things? What if what if this pressure that life is bringing us, the evolutionary pressure that life is bringing us, is such that we can crystallize in ourselves, is such that we can become the diamonds that we have been asking to become? Ego interference, I also want to share this thought with you. My sense is that, well, first of all, ask yourself the question, how much time do you want to keep burning to ego-driven drama? Some people mention 90%, 80%, 75%. How much of your life force energy do you want to keep feeding to that flame that is self-consuming? It's a real question. My sense is also that ego will progressively become more and more of a handicap. As spiritual intelligence develops and becomes more and more of, okay, we had a blackout, but I trust you can still see me. All sorts of strange.
We are good, Simon. We can see you very clearly. Yeah.
Great. So we have strange things happening with tech today, but yeah, the sense is that not only on a professional level, but also on a personal level, those who will have light is back. Those who will have chosen to bring higher self in charge, to keep higher self in charge, and not follow so much what ego self might be asking them to do. And what that means, translated into practical terms, is the people who are able to bring the best of their mind and the best of their heart to their day-to-day will have a high competitive advantage. Again, whether it's professionally or privately. Just think about, when you whoever said 90% as the percentage of ego-driven drama, I don't know if that's, your wife or your husband or ex-wife or ex-husband or your boss or, whoever that might be. Do you want that? Do you want that in your life? And if you don't want it, then does it make sense that people who have developed this skill, and again, we're talking about skills here, not beliefs. People who have developed this skill will be a more pleasant company to keep, right? If there's less ego-driven drama. Also, 1995, this is now the cutting edge in the field of multiple intelligences. In 1995, Emotional Intelligence came out by Daniel Goleman. This was the book. 25 years later, it is now a must. If you go into any HR department, everybody knows, when it came out, it was like, emotional what? That's for women and grandmothers. We don't need it in the workplace. And then the study was made that showed that actually the people who have the higher level of emotional intelligence are the high flyers. And what is fascinating is that this study was made in the Bell Labs in the US, which was a place that for you to even get a job, you needed to have genius level IQ. And so they got curious. Well, everybody's a genius. What makes the difference between the high flyers and the average people? What they found was that people who had a higher level of emotional intelligence, i.e. the people who would spend time in the cafeteria saying, hey, who are you? What's your name? What are your children's name? What are you working on? Without any agenda. There were also the people who could then make connections between, oh, I'm working on this project, but so-and-so in that department is working on that. Maybe we can collaborate and both our projects can go faster. But also, and I love the simplicity of this, these were the people whose phone calls and emails were returned the fastest. Simple as that. People liked them and they answered their emails faster, which meant that their projects would advance faster. Now, 2014, Spiritual Intelligence by Cindy Wigglesworth came out. Again, my estimation is that by 2030, this will also have become a must. Now, obviously, where did I get that date from? I fished it out of the thin air, but also not entirely, right? For two reasons. One is that by 2030, 75% of the population, working class and workforce and consumer class will be millennials, and they have those priorities which seem to align with the skills of spiritual intelligence. And so those who demonstrate a higher level of spiritual intelligence will be able to communicate and interface and interact more with 75% of the population. I trust that this makes sense to you. But also the spiral dynamics, which is that theory that explores the levels of development of human consciousness, is showing that there is an acceleration between the time it takes to get from one level to the next. And so the gap that it takes to go from one level to the next is becoming shorter and shorter, which is why I don't think it will take 25 years. My guess is 2030, maybe sooner, maybe later. We can speak again in 9 years and you can call me on that. And finally, exceptional leaders. These were the people who had the courage to develop themselves and their level of spiritual intelligence to the point where They could say it always seems impossible until it's done. 27 years in jail, but exceptional leaders always demonstrated a high level of spiritual intelligence. You can think of Gandhi as another example. But more importantly, why should you listen to me? Yeah, who is this guy? Well, let me take you back to a previous time in my life. Let's go back. Before we go back, actually, consider this. The question is it possible for us, individually and collectively, to grow in wisdom and compassion? And is it possible for us to not only do that, but also stand in our power so that we may be able to serve from that place? It's the spring of 1985. I'm 8 years old. It's 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm in my bed and I cannot sleep. The fighting and the arguing downstairs has been going on for quite some time. Suddenly my heart jumps into my throat as I hear sounds of smashing and hitting. I get out of my bed and I don't know what to do. The sound increases in intensity and I cannot stay in my bedroom any longer. I go downstairs, I push the door open and I see there is blood on the floor. My mother is almost hiding underneath the couch. I looked at my father. I say something. He says something back. That's good. We're talking. At least the hitting stopped. I can smell the stench of alcohol in his breath, and his big belly is almost pushing against me as I look at him in the eyes. An hour has gone by and we're still talking. Well, mainly he's talking and I'm listening. He needs to speak a lot when he's drunk. Finally, he says, "Okay, I'm not going to kill her for tonight." I don't know if he wanted to kill her or not, but I don't think so. He likes to make things dramatic. "Go to bed," he says as he walks me up halfway through the stairs. I turn around and I say, "Are we friends?" And I reach out with my right hand. I don't know why I said that. Maybe I needed some reassurance that things were settled. He explodes. "Who the fuck do you think you are?" And something else that I can't hear because the voice inside me says that I just messed up. He slams the door behind him. He goes back into the living room and I stand there petrified, listening to what might happen next. But the beating doesn't continue. Eventually, I make my way up into my bedroom and the house goes quiet and I go to sleep. When I wake up in the morning is with that familiar sense of something deep into my gut that has not been fully released, with that sense of heaviness. And I prepare myself to endure another day, and another day, and another day. Numbness. Have you ever felt like you are a victim of life? Like you're powerless and there is nothing you can do, and life is a cruel destiny that you just need to suffer through? Fast forward 4 years, I am now 12, I am coming back from home, and I can tell immediately by looking at his eyes that he's been drinking. I thought that was a superpower that only I possessed until I realized everybody can see that. I go straight into my bedroom, and as I pick up a book randomly, with whatever focus I can steal from downstairs, I open the book and this sentence jumps out at me. "You choose the parents you want to be born from." What? You choose the parents you want to be born from. No. Wait a minute. I didn't choose to be born. They brought me here. They owe me big time. What if it was true? What would you see then? Well, if it was true, there would have to be a reason why I chose them. But honestly, why would I choose to be born into this? And if it was true, that would also mean that I would have had to exist before I was born. And what else would you see? That what seems to be is not the whole story. That there is more to truth than what I can see. You are not a victim of this. What if everything was perfect and everything was serving evolution? Wait, who are you? You know who I am. Yes, I do know who you are. You are me, my spirit. You've always been there, but the chaos has always been too much to really pay attention. So now what? You know now what? Fast forward 20 years. It's now November 2012, and I'm standing in the richest square mile in the world, in the city of London, the Guildhall to be specific. It's graduation day, and I'm in the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, to be precise, and my acting class is graduating on that day, and it's the 2012 graduation ceremony. I'm standing in this place that looks a little bit like the dining room in Harry Potter. And Dominic West is giving the speech to graduates, and he says, I remember when I started my training, we were 20 odd people, 20 very odd people. Everybody laughs. And I'm sitting there in the front row wearing my gown, and I'm about to receive the chairman's prize. And I'm proud of what I've accomplished. It is not being accepted in one of the 10 top schools in the world, even though the chances of getting accepted are 99% against. Although that statistic keeps blowing my mind every time I think about it. Consider attempting something when you know you have a 99% chance of failure. Then again, it did take me 4 attempts to be accepted, which makes receiving this prize now even more special. But no, it's not being here now that gives me my sense of self. It's the journey I have been on. It's the hunger for never-ending self-development. It's universities and tantric workshops and men's groups and training as a coach and training as an actor and seeing the world through someone else's eyes. Understanding through compassion. Forgiving my father long before he died. Maybe that's why I chose my parents, to propel me on my journey, to start my seeking. My reverie is popped as the chairman announces my name on the speaker. And for the chairman's prize, Simon Blackall. I walk on the stage and shake hands with the principal. And I looked at my classmates and my mother with a smile. And I hear this voice say, acting is not the path. What? Look carefully. Is this where you feel most alive? Oh, but then why come this far in the first place? One day you will know why. Okay, so now what? Now you go and serve others. Do you know that feeling when you know exactly what you need to be doing, but you're not doing it? Like the closer you get to what might just be your purpose in life, the deeper and darker the doubts, the louder and stronger the fears. So you want to be a life coach now. Oh, how many times are you going to change your mind about what you want to do when you grow up? So people are just going to come to you and knock at your door and want to be coached by you. Why? Yeah, you're right. I'm not ready yet. There is so much about this human experience that I don't know yet. Why would people come to me? Despite the doubts, I keep investing in myself. I find 3 different places that I want to train as a coach. One of them is spiritual intelligence. And as I come across the 21 skills, there are 4 skills specifically that jump out to me and feel like old friends. Skill 16, seeking guidance from a higher power or higher self. Skill 15, sustaining faith during difficult times. Skill 6, awareness of the interconnectedness of all life. And skill 20, being a calming and healing presence. A year later, I create my company, Anima Consciousness, and I keep investing in myself. I launch my website. I become a member of the International Coaching Federation. I get my first clients, and their testimonials are touching in the level of authenticity and sincerity that I experience reading them. Fast forward a few more years, I am booked to speak at international events like the ICF UK-Russia collaboration, the European Coactive Coaching Community Day in London, and ICF Converge 2019, which is where I met these wonderful ladies that are hosting us today. I'm invited also to become an associate coach with other companies, and in that capacity I do work with the British government, with some of the big names in the business and the arts. Without realizing it, I noticed that all the coaching trainings that I've been exploring and all my experiences in life, including acting, including becoming a yoga teacher, have blended together to create a tool set that allows me to be very flexible in supporting people where they are at. And I recognize that my passion ultimately is to find ways to hold a space of truth and light in which others can come forth. Now, the world needs more wise, loving, and effective change agents. And I trust that I'm in the presence of some here. If you've been drawn or attracted to this call, there is probably a reason. The need for a global awakening in consciousness is the sign of our times. The violent and unconscious leaders of this world are causing us to step into separation and fear. I trust that the framework that we're presenting here today and the program that we were presenting at the end can be a powerful accelerator in that direction. During a deep meditation, I once got a profound glimpse of the oneness that is possible, and it is so within our reach. And it is that vision that inspired me and motivated me up until this day, and it is that vision that I strive to serve with everything that is available to me. So the question, is it possible to grow in wisdom and compassion? I found for me the answer was yes, if only I let my ego and cognitive mind aside for a while. And is it possible to come into our power and serve the world from that place? Again, I found the answer was yes. As soon as I recognize when I'm indulging in victim consciousness and choose to step into creative consciousness instead. So now it's over to you. In fact, let's do a quick exercise. No, not that exercise. We did that exercise already. Okay, so take a moment to think about spiritual leaders. So by spiritual leaders, we mean people you admire, whom you would consider to be spiritual leaders. Your rules are, they can be alive or dead. You may never have met the person. They can be real or fictional. So we had Yoda once from Star Wars, for example, or Dumbledore from Harry Potter. And Most importantly, they don't have to be perfect. Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute now, and if you go on your annotate function, you can write your entries here. Skywalker, Riza Zahar, Muhammad, yes, Prophet Muhammad, Deepak Chopra, thank you, Ken. A little point of white light from Fauzia. Prophet Muha, Bionic Woman, Robin Sharma, great. Zacharias. Harry, my partner, how blessed you are. Buddha, Jesus, great. Muhammad, great. Perfect, thank you. So I'm going to wait for this last entry and then clear the screen. Great, yes. Yes, Vishen Lakiani, great. Okay, well, thank you for your entries. Now, think about the traits of these spiritual leaders, whoever you name. Think about what are the traits that cause you to admire them. And again, write your qualities, write those qualities here. Compassion, humility, humbleness, mindful, patience, fair, integrity, humility, unconditional love, beautiful, truthful, caring, trustworthiness, fairness. Okay. Competent. Great. Thank you. Compassionate. Yes. Okay, great. Now, let me share this with you. This exercise has been done with thousands of people. Forgiving, yep. Has been done with thousands of people from different social strata, different ages, different religious groups, different geographies, the most diverse representatives of the population took part to this exercise. And here is a typical list that we hear very often. Major religious figures like Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Moses, Abraham, Lord Krishna, saints like Mother Teresa, Dalai Lama. We get a lot of political leaders like Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King. We hear about relatives like, Harry, my partner, or mom, dad, or my grandmother, my grandfather, an aunt, an uncle, children, and I love that children are also represented in the list. Guides like, my teacher, my local religious leader, or guidance counselor, or my coach, even. Authors or TV personalities like Oprah, Dr. Phil, Deepak Chopra, as you mentioned, and others. And then there's an others category, which can be my coworker, my neighbor, my patients, my boss, if you're really, really lucky. And also animals and pets. So beautiful that animals and pets are also represented in this. Now, a list of traits that we hear over and over are, a lot of which you have mentioned, are loving, compassionate, wise, courageous, humble, honesty, integrity, authenticity. They're faithful, they're forgiving, they're accepting, they're calm and centered, they are peaceful and non-violent, they are visionary, they have a vision for the future, they are outstanding teachers, they're able to inspire others, they're great leaders, they're persistent, and they see the gifts in other people and they develop them. Now, let me ask you, does this list sound like it's something that could be harmful to your business or to you as a person? In fact, I imagine the answer would be no, right? It's a rhetorical question in some ways. But in fact, we have a lot of business leaders who would love to have more of these qualities into their organization, which kind of means that the level of spiritual intelligence, there is room for the development of spiritual intelligence in their organization. Makes sense? And again, it's not about religion, it's not about beliefs, it's about behaviors. Now, let's be clear so that there's no room for misinterpretation here. What do we mean by spirituality? In this framework, the definition of spirituality is the innate human need to connect to something larger than ourselves, something we consider to be divine or of exceptional nobility. This framework was developed with a specific intention to make it a faith-friendly, meaning it works with any faith denomination, faith neutral, meaning there is no bias towards any faith denomination, but also atheist-friendly framework. So again, it's not about beliefs, it's about behaviors. So this is the definition of spirituality. So what do we mean by spirituality? If we dig a little deeper, it has a vertical and a horizontal dimension to it. The vertical dimension is a connection to the sacred, the transcendent, the divine, the timeless, the truth, if you want to call it universe, if you want to call it life, whatever name you give it. The horizontal dimension is connection to each other and all life. So this is where is the dimension of service to ourselves and each other and the planet. So if you take those two words, you get sacred service. So spirituality is sacred service. What is the relationship to religion? Well, if it's an innate, it's an innate need to connect to something bigger than us, something universal or timeless, the vertical dimension, religion is one very common way that we attempt to satisfy this need. It's a pathway that enables us to do just that. But it is not the only way. Connecting to nature is another. Philosophy or art or physics or science are others. If you think about Stephen Hawking or Albert Einstein, they arrived to an understanding that there may be more than what they originally thought there was out there by studying, by using science as a vehicle. And so if spirituality is an innate human need and religion is one way in which we attempt to satisfy that need, what is the definition of spiritual intelligence? As defined in this framework by Cindy Wigglesworth, it's the ability to behave with wisdom and compassion whilst maintaining inner and outer peace regardless of the circumstances. I just want to speak a little bit to that definition because there are a lot of elements. One is the ability to behave. Have you noticed that we tend to judge ourselves based on our intentions, but others based on their behavior? How interesting is that? And also, it's all very good and well to be able to be peaceful and loving when you're sitting on top of the tree, at the bottom of the tree on top of the hill. But can you do it when it matters? Can you do it in real life? Can you do it in your day-to-day grind? And wisdom, the ability to behave with wisdom and compassion. Wisdom is the best of the mind, compassion is the best of the heart. And the original definition was the ability to behave with love. But then in English, love is a bit of a sloppy word because we say I love pizza and I love my children, and we don't really mean the same thing. And so Cindy Wigglesworth once came across this definition from the East, maybe Indonesia, maybe Malaysia, I don't know, which read, love is a bird with two wings. One is wisdom and one is compassion. If either wing is broken, the the bird cannot fly. And so that gave her goosebumps, and that's how she translated love into wisdom and compassion. She put the two wings of the bird in there. And so spiritual intelligence is the ability to behave with wisdom and compassion whilst maintaining inner and outer peace regardless of the circumstances. Why inner and outer peace? It is very possible, and in fact, at times it is also very appropriate to maintain an outer appearance of peace. Question becomes that if it's just an outer peace that you're displaying, the cost to you might be very, very high. And the cost might be burnout. And nurses in hospitals, they are extremely good at keeping everybody peaceful, you know, the doctor and the patient and the family members. But then there is a saying which goes, nurses eat their young. And what that means is that, you know, energy doesn't just vanish, it has to go somewhere. And oftentimes what happens in the locker room, especially with the younger nurses, is that they all that frustration, all that energy, all that tension is offloaded there or at home. So the ability to maintain inner and outer peace regardless of the circumstances, the ability to maintain inner peace is a very, very different game, is a very different context. You are not risking burnout. You are coming from a place of truth, center. And so the impact that you have is also sustainable. Does that make sense? And regardless of the circumstances means that, you know, even during COVID or even during very stressful times. Key distinctions here for this framework, ego self. Normally ego self tends to be about separation, isolation, self-protection, I win, you lose, short-term thinking. That's kind of the domain in which it works. Immediate reward and immediate pleasure. Higher self is about unity, is about connection, is about service. There is no scarcity mindset, there is an abundance mindset. It tends to look at the long term, and it tends to seek for win-win-win solutions. How can I win, you win, and also maybe the planet win? Synonyms for higher self, if that word doesn't connect with you. And again, one of the ways in which this framework was made, what was opened up to as many people as possible was by using a lot of synonyms. So, you know the saying, when the finger points at the moon, the idiot looks at the finger. So words here are just the finger, they're not the moon. So if that word doesn't resonate with you, find one that does. What is important is that we're looking at the same moon here, is that we're looking at what we mean, not necessarily the word or the sound that conveys that meaning. So if higher self doesn't mean anything to you, you can use best self, noble self, my soul, my spirit, who I came here to be. Christ consciousness works for some, Buddha nature works for some, Atman, the essential self, the authentic or true self. There are many different, find one that works for you and replace that word with the one that works for you so that you know what we are aiming towards, what we're speaking about. Very, very briefly, in fact, maybe just a super quick overview. The framework of spiritual intelligence is developed over 4 quadrants. One is focused on higher self and lower self, but self. The other side, the right side, is focused on other. And then the upper quadrants are focused on what you see, so your inner world. And the lower quadrants is what other people see, so the outer world. And you get a number of contexts that are defined by this definition. So self, self-awareness, universal awareness, higher self, ego self-mastery, social mastery, spiritual presence. So the idea here is that unless you have the awareness, you cannot have the mastery. Awareness precedes mastery. If I don't have the awareness of higher self and ego self, I cannot master, I cannot keep my higher self in charge because I don't know what that is. Make sense? Okay, we're going to skip here. There are a number of questions that belong to these topics, and normally there is a flow to this work. You can start from the first or second quadrant, depending on the culture that you are born in. Some tend to focus on the others, some tend to focus on the self, but either way, then the flow tends to go towards the third quadrant and then the fourth. So social mastery, spiritual presence, the fourth quadrant is the output quadrant. That is the one that tends to develop last. Now I'm going to quickly bring up the 21 skills so that you can see them, and then you will have an opportunity to use your stamp to kind of select the skill that you feel might be most relevant to you right now, where you are in your journey. So higher self, we have skill 1 is awareness of own worldview. Skill 2 is awareness of life purpose, awareness of values and their hierarchy, not just what are my values, but which value is my top value. Complexity of inner thought, awareness of ego self and higher self. In the second quadrant, we have skill 6, awareness of the interconnectedness of all life, awareness of worldview of others, breadth of time perception, how big a scale, a time scale can you think of? Some people think about, the American Indians saying, consider when you act, consider what is the impact of your actions on the 7th generation after you. So what breadth of time can we conceive? Awareness of limitations and power of human perception, awareness of spiritual laws, experience of transcendent oneness. On the third quadrant, we have commitment to spiritual growth, keeping higher self in charge, living your purpose and values. Of course, you cannot live your purpose and values if you don't have the awareness of what your values and purposes are. Sustaining faith in tough times, seeking guidance from higher self. On the fourth quadrant, we have being a wise and effective teacher, mentor of spiritual principles, being a wise and effective change agent or leader, which is what we're going to focus as we come to a close and we introduce what this program is about. Making compassionate and wise decisions, being a calming and healing presence, being aligned with the ebb and flow of life. So these are the skills that it seems that when these skills combine, they bring your level of spiritual intelligence. And of course, we're looking at them separately and individually, but of course they're all interconnected. There is a dialogue, an internal dialogue between all these things. Great. So thank you for doing great. So for some people, it's being clear about what is my worldview. For some people is what is my purpose? What are my values? So quadrant 1. I see a lot of votes also on quadrant 4, quadrant 3. Yeah, great. So there's seems that a lot of resonance on a lot of these skills. Fascinating. Great, thank you. It's also always very, just going to take a snapshot because it's also always very useful to get a sense of, when in real life, where the rubber hits the road, where are people at? So great, thank you for that. Okay, so I'm going to, okay, so we already did the exercise. I'm going to just clear that. Clear the screen. Thank you all for your contribution. It's the best we can do to real live participation, but it's good that we have this possibility. Now, the other thing is that each skill, if this is about behaviors, each skill needs to have different levels. So from novice to master, right? And so what the framework has done is that it defined what those levels are. So for example, let's just take skill 5, awareness of ego self and higher self, for the sake of example. At level 1, all you need to do to be at level 1 on this skill is to have the awareness that ego exists and is shaped by experience. Some people don't even know what ego is, therefore they would be at 0. But if they have the awareness, okay, there is such a thing called ego and it's shaped by experience, then you qualify for level 1. At level 2, I can observe my own ego in operation. I'm not only aware that there is such a thing, but I can also notice it. Level 3, I can recognize situations that trigger my ego self. So now not only can I see it in operation, but I can also recognize and identify, okay, when this, or this happens, I'm most likely to be triggered. On level 4, I can consistently hear the voice of my higher self, which again is the voice that tends to come in when we create that gap. Okay, something is triggering me, I want to respond that way, but if I take a little bit of time and just breathe and then just wait for that voice to come up, that secret whisper to show things maybe are different from what they seem to be, that is level 4. And level 5, this is the saintly level. Ego is now in joyful service to higher self. I maybe experienced this for 5 minutes per year, if that. So there is also an assessment that goes with this. It's not important for the purposes of, I'm just saying this for your awareness, but it's not important for the purposes of the program that we're going to present in a minute. But just so you know, it has undergone statistical analysis of results to determine the statistical significance and reliability, a construct validity analysis, and a correlation analysis with other highly respected and validated assessments of adult development. There, I think Cindy Wigglesworth spent around $1 million on developing this tool. So it's very rigorously researched and validated. It consists of an online questionnaire. It's 140 questions, takes about 40 minutes to complete. Your answers generate a report. The report contains a numerical scoring for each of the skills. So it gives you your unique spiritual intelligence profile, a paragraph about the skill and how you could develop it, even though there is no, it's a suggestion. You don't have to take things forward in that way. And it's always highly advisable to have a live debrief once you have the document, because that's when the conversation really comes alive. Now, question I am often asked is, okay, so awareness of own worldview, what does that mean? What does, I'm confused. What do you mean by that? Right? Picture speaks 1,000 words. Are you aware of that which you're not aware of? That is your worldview. Oftentimes we're not aware. I'm also often asked, what do you mean by awareness of worldview of others? Well, here's a simple way to explain it. Right? This is true. If you're standing from that perspective, this is true. This is also true. And then this is truth. So your perspective on reality may not be wrong, but that does not mean that you're the only one who might have insights on the truth. The more perspectives you're able to embrace, the more awareness you might have of the worldview of others, the closer you will get to the truth. So this is also an interesting skill to develop, especially if you want to be a wise and effective change agent. And then to bring our focus to the skill that we are centering this specific program on, being a wise and effective change agent. What skills do you need to be a wise and effective change agent? And what level of awareness do you need to have? So those were the 2 questions that kind of sit behind the development of this program. So this is victim from victim to creative consciousness. It is not only, we subtitled it Staying Resilient During Challenging Times, but I think it is so much more than that. It is actually about being a wise and effective change agent. It's not about being resilient and enduring it. It's also about being able to transform circumstances. So why this program? In this moment in history, it's crucial that we need more creators than we need victims. We need visionaries who are able to move through the density of this time and move forward with what they see, with the vision that they can connect to, whether that's an individual vision or a collective vision, whether it's for your own self and your children and your family, whether that's for your business, whether that's for your company, whatever it is that you are targeting your visionary self at. It consists of 12 episodes. We divided them into part 1 and part 2, so it's 6 episodes each. There is a workbook, which is 100+ pages. Every episode is 2 hours. It's a live call. There is live group coaching that goes on during the call. And there are also weekly tasks, weekly development tasks. If you want to take a screenshot of this, this can give you a sense of, or just to read out a couple. In victim consciousness, you often experience low levels of energy. In creative consciousness, you often feel energized. In victim consciousness, you are often in resistance. In creative consciousness, you show up fully for what is yours to do, and then you fully surrender what is not yours to do. So there's also that understanding that co-creation doesn't rely 100% on me, but the part that does rely on me, am I showing up 100% for that? Take a snapshot and feel free to read through it in your own time. So what do we look at specifically in the program? Episode 1 is the clean setup. We look at how to connect you to the visionary in you. We all have it. If you feel that, well, I don't have a vision, I will challenge you on that. The question is, maybe why have you stopped connecting to the visionary in you? What might be the causes, and what happens when you do reconnect? And we have a set of very simple questions. The clean setup is a set of 3 very simple questions that can reconnect you to that. Anger into passion is what we look at into episode 2. By and large, we experience anger when we perceive something as not working. At this time in the planet, there is so much we are perceiving as not working. And so the level of anger is pretty high. And by anger, I mean, frustration is a degree of anger. Now, traditionally, the way we relate to anger is either we vomit it out, oftentimes not even with the right person, or we deny it and suppress it. Both have the cost. And what we look at here is what might be a healthy way of relating to anger, what might be a third option. In episode 3, we look at the power of the word, and this is tapping into how you can use the word as a force of creation, how you can speak something into existence. We look at examples where this was the case, and the fact that there is a mysterious but very real power in the word that we often do not activate and do not use. In episode 4, we look at the power of integrity. So what is the underpinning law that dictates what is the probability that we may achieve our goals and what we set out to do? This, for many people, this is an earthquake. This is like an epiphany awareness creation. So when we speak about what is the level of awareness you need to have to be a wise and effective change agent, this is also what we are looking at. These awareness creation will support that. Episode 5 is integrity recovery procedures. Sometimes life gets in the way. What can we do to maintain our integrity intact? Episode 6 is the power to act. Oftentimes we wait for our emotions or our thoughts to feel just right before we take action. This awareness creation will help you to recognize that you are free to act regardless of what is happening in your thinking or in your feeling. We'll go into more detail in episode 6. This is then the end of part 1. Part 2 starts with the ladder of power. And this is a way that will support, it's an awareness creation that will support you to speak truth to power, meaning how can I speak truthfully without activating ego walls or ego resistances on the other side? This also gives you very clear distinctions so that you can recognize when you are dropping into victim consciousness and how you can shift into creative consciousness anytime, anywhere, no matter what. Episode 8 is the distinction between story and isness. Isness is where the thing is. Where things are, they happen in isness. They don't happen in story. Oftentimes we have a story about something, but reality does not change because of the story we have about reality. If we want to be impactful in reality, we need to operate there where reality is, not on the story that we have about reality, which is where we spend 80% of our time, focusing on the story we have and all the ego-driven drama that comes from that. You want to impact reality, go where reality is. Episode 9 is the art of completion. Any incompletion that we carry is occupying some psychic space, some bandwidth, and then we have less capability, less ability to be present with that which we need to be present in the moment now. Episode 10, we look at the ego and the 3 traps of the ego, the 3 most common ways in which the ego will want to trip you up. Episode 11, we look at the higher self, how to distinguish between ego self and higher self, so that there was a study that showed that with the awareness, we have a 50-50 chance of making a different choice. So with the awareness of what is ego self and what is higher self, you now have a fair fight. Without the awareness, those chances drop to 4%. So this is also one of the purposes of the awareness creation. And finally, episode 12 is free flow. We will just tune in and we will see what needs to be said. We would now like to invite Hisham. He was part of our first group who took part to Victim to Creator Part 1. And Hisham, if you want to unmute yourself and come on live and share briefly about your experience, whatever you want to share.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Hisham. I was in the Victim to Creative Consciousness program, which is a few weeks ago. I like to introduce myself a little bit. I am a coach, and also I am a life enthusiast. I live with my mother and 4 beautiful cats. Okay. At first, when I start off this program, I was a little bit skeptical because I think maybe this guy is an actor and he knows what to do about the training and so on. He really captivated us anyway. But I was wrong. The content was very overwhelming. And then but one thing for sure, when I started off this program, I want to improve myself. And I want to start off with a clean slate. Clean slate means I have to be honest to myself. If I'm not good, I'm not good. If I need help, I need help. So at this juncture, I think I need help because one of the elements in the Victim to Creative Consciousness was you shouldn't be attached to your song of pain because in life, I was struggling with a lot of adversities and I have a lot of song of pains. So every minute I think of my song of pain, there is an emotion call to that song of pain. So I cannot be a new person and progress if I'm still attached to this emotion and song of pain. So after reading the content and then read it with sincerity at heart and open mind, I am able to shift my song of pain with a lot of emotion attached. I managed to detach it. So the song of pain in my life remain as a memory. It's not remain as a suffering. So now I am living my life towards the song of peace and eventually will be song of joy. So that is very powerful for me. It's a breakthrough. I move on. So now I live up my passion so greatly. For example, I start off like sharing my passion with my friends in the FB almost every week, whether it's cooking, whether it's like food for thoughts, whether it's gardening and so on. It's all my passion. Before this, I am a little bit reserved. A lot of hidden talent has not been exposed. Now I am living out my passion, and the living up my passion so greatly, it creates another feeling saying that I no need my song of pain. The song of pain is just like it's a lesson for me. Okay, thank you very much. I have had it. I learned from the lesson, then I am moving on. So that is one thing that I thanks to the organizer and also Simon for giving me a lot of inputs, insightful information and wisdom for me to move on. There are a lot of breakthroughs in the content, like the power of act, the speech act, and so on. So please bear in mind that when you're coming to this program, it should be in, like I say, open mind and sincerity at heart. That's about it.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you, Hisham, and thank you so much for making the time to come on with us today and to share your experience. Much appreciated.
No problem at all. No problem at all.
Okay, so do you have any questions? I apologize, we are over time, but if you have any questions, we are literally moving into so we're closing now. Are there any questions anybody would like to ask?
Simon, I have not my questions, 2 questions from the chat. I'm not sure whether I should read the questions here or let I think I just read the question.
If participants want to come on live and speak to themselves, even better.
Yeah, we've got one from Firas. Firas, would you like to unmute and ask directly to Simon? You still there, Firas?
Hello. Sure.
Yeah, go on.
Hi, Firas.
Hi, Simon. So my question is, which spiritual leaders you admire the most?
Which spiritual leaders do I admire most?
Yes.
Well, I just finished reading Nelson Mandela's autobiography, The Long Walk to Freedom. And so he's very present with me right now. I think that's what he accomplished for me is really is a miracle. And what is striking for me and never ceases to inspire me is the level of commitment that he had. So when he was trialed for acts of terrorism, what he said in the trial, and this was at a time where the death penalty was the most likely outcome for him, he said, Your Honor, I have cherished the ideal of white and black living in harmony. It is an ideal that I hope to live for and achieve, but if needs be, it is an ideal that I'm prepared to die for. Now, when you have that level of commitment, you can endure 27 years of imprisonment and then come out with forgiveness and say, I don't have time to do the blame game because there are things that I want to change. There are things I need to be doing. There is work to be done. For me, that never ceases me to inspire. And everybody who was in contact with Nelson Mandela, including the white staff, who initially were a little skeptic and afraid, everybody was saying that what an inspiring soul he was, what an inspiring human being. So that would be my answer today. It may change if we speak again next year, I don't know.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Firas.
Thank you.
We have one more question. It's from HP. There's no name. I guess I just read. Or are you there? Do you want to come on, unmute and ask? HP. Okay. Let me just,
Go ahead and read it. Yes.
Yes. She or he is asking, how do you overcome the absence of awareness in values and purposes? How do you overcome the absence of awareness in values and purposes?
Well, you ask questions about your awareness and life purpose. The question is like a hook, right? Even the symbol for it looks like a hook. Where what you focus on expands. So if you have no awareness of your values and life purpose, by focusing on your values and your life purpose and asking questions, that awareness can expand, and then you'll hook onto something. There are also processes that that can be done, you know, simple exercises and tools that can be used to support that inquiry. But it starts with the question. It starts with the curiosity. What are my values? What is my life purpose? I hope that answers it.
Thank you, Simon.
Any other questions? Bless you.
Yes. Hi, Simon. This is Mus from Kuala Lumpur.
Hi.
Hi. Let me just put on my video for a short while, and I'm gonna off that for a while.
Great, thank you. It'd be good to see your face.
Hi, thanks. I'm just gonna off this to save some bandwidth. Okay. I'm the guy who wrote Skywalker.
Right.
Okay. Right. So, what intrigues me about him is that his ability just to walk through life. And my question is, which of the 21 items actually enables one to actually remove obstacles and make life easier? For example, yeah. Okay, over to you.
Which of the 21 skills support one to remove obstacles and make life easier? Is that your question?
That's right.
Great. So I would say, as always, it's a combination of a number of things. It's a little bit like saying, well, it's raining today, right now. And if I ask the question, well, what is keeping the rain out? If that is the obstacle, what is keeping the rain out? I could say, well, it's the roof. But is it the roof? Because the roof cannot stand by itself, right? The roof has the walls and everything else. For one, I find that, so I know that answer will not satisfy you, but I need to say that to be truthful. It is probably not just one, it's not just one thing. But here's what I found. Oftentimes, we indulge victim consciousness, i.e., you know, in a nutshell, victim consciousness is the question, well, what can I do about it? You know, there's COVID. What can I do about it? Well, I got fired. What can I do about it? That's victim consciousness in a nutshell. We come from generations of victim consciousness. You know, our grandfathers, the world wars. So in a sense, we're also inheriting that. But we're at a point where we're at a pivotal point where there's a new emerging level of consciousness, which I call creative consciousness, but you can call it in a number of different ways, that is no longer satisfied with that answer. Well, with that energy, with that attitude, well, what can I do about it? And it's so interesting because the words are exactly the same, just the energy behind it is different. So you're no longer asking, well, what can I do about it? You're asking, what can I do about it? And the instant, so we all exist on a spectrum between victim consciousness and creative consciousness. The question is, where is my center of gravity right now? And how can I shift it so that it can be more where I want it to be? From creative consciousness, what you will find is that you tend to become a force for clarity, a force for change, a force for action, because a confused mind, when you don't have clarity, the confused mind doesn't take action. If I don't know what to do, I don't do anything, right? But once I'm clear, then I can move in a specific direction. That does connect with the ability to connect to the visionary in me. Okay, these are the circumstances. But what is, if I could have it exactly like I would want it to be, what would it look like? Do I even consider that question? Do I even consider that possibility? One of the underlying principles, Mus, is that reality is a delayed reaction to what's in our consciousness. If reality is a delayed reaction to what's in our consciousness, the question becomes, what is in my consciousness? If creation always happens twice, and the first time is in consciousness, did I take the time, like the architect who doesn't just go and builds the house and then, oh, I forgot the toilet, you know, he does a drawing first. So did I take time to even create in my consciousness okay, here's the obstacle. First of all, what is my relationship to the obstacle? And because that is victim consciousness will make you look at the obstacle in a specific way. Creative consciousness will make you look at the obstacle in a different way. And so also the emotions that you will generate depending on what meaning do you give, what meaning am I giving to me facing this obstacle? Is it the beginning or is it the end? For example, with COVID, is this the beginning or is it the end? Depending on the emotion on the interpretation that I give it, I will have an emotion, and the quality of the emotions that we have is the quality of our life. So there are a number of, by becoming aware of a number of things that are happening oftentimes in the background, with that awareness, you start having more, you increase your ability to make different choices by at least 46%. So once I'm aware that I'm looking at this like a victim, once I catch myself, and I still catch myself in victim consciousness at times, but the instant I become aware that that's where I am, I also have a choice to look at things in a different way and make different choices and have different emotions. And then the quality of my life is also different because of that. I don't know if that answers the question. It was a long-winded,
yes.
But you know, for sure, also the ability to hold faith during challenging times, it's one of them. I intrinsically, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. I'll let you finish. I've got another question. Yeah.
Well, I find that one of the most important choices we need to make in life is life happening for me or is life happening against me? I have found that whatever your choice, you will be right. If you believe that you can, or if you believe that you can't, you are right. So, given that the choice is arbitrary and one is just as true as the other, my question is, why not make the choice that is soul promoting, that is inspiring, that is uplifting, as opposed to the other choice? But here's the trick. Here's the catch. Whatever you decide, once you've decided it, for example, say you decide, okay, life is happening for me. If that is true, then it's always true. It cannot only be true when it's convenient. I could tell you a lot of stories about how life lived up to that promise when things looked, so a question I sometimes ask myself is, what if the cause was in the future? What I mean by that is, what if it's not, I'm learning the alphabet because I didn't know it before? What if it's, I'm learning the alphabet because one day I'll have to write a book, even though I don't even know that that's the case? So what if the challenge that I'm experiencing now is the weight that I need to lift to strengthen whatever muscle I'm working with? You know, that's when you want to grow your physical muscles, you go to the gym, you pick the heavy thing and you lift it again and again, right? Same thing with emotional fitness and with spiritual fitness. But what if what is happening now is not because of I'm being punished or because I wasn't good enough? What if it's because of something that wants to happen that I can't even see from where I am now? Again, I could tell you stories, but I'm mindful of time. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. Just a leading question, a short one.
Sure.
You mentioned just now the shifting of center of gravity, right? And I find usually the biggest obstacle in my career is actually the emotion of fear of the unknown. Yeah.
Welcome to humanity.
Do you have a cue that you use personally to snap yourself out of it so that you can shift the center of gravity?
So what I just said for me is always a useful reminder. So when I am, so first of all, recognize that there is a choice of something that you don't know. And if you're having a fear reaction, that means that you're populating it with monsters somehow or with bad things happening. You could also decide, okay, I don't know this, but what if it's something good? So again, is life happening for me or is life happening against me? Consider this, people that you now call friends once upon a time were strangers that you did not know? What if what you don't know yet is something that is friendly as opposed to an enemy? And that's one thing that I remind myself is, what if the cause is in the future? The way in which it shifts my basic relationship to life, just asking that question, is that when I perceive life as happening against me, I experience a level of heaviness, like even physical contraction, a weight, the way I look at things and the way I respond to things doesn't feel like it's aligned with who I truly am, with why I'm here. I'm not here to complain. All of us, if we are sparks of the divine, then we are also creators in that sense. We're here to create something. It can be as simple as a beautiful meal for your wife. You know, that it doesn't have to be, you know, changing the world and ending apartheid, or you know, ending the domination, the British domination over India. It can be something simple. And I know that we have this bias towards, if it's not big and flashy and important, then it doesn't mean anything. But consider this. I love to do this exercise as well, in humility. What if the biggest contribution I will ever make to the world is something that I'm not even aware of? What if it's that smile I once gave to a stranger who was having a very bad day and was considering committing suicide, and because of that smile and he felt seen, he didn't, and then it turns out he had the cure for cancer? And I'll never know. Maybe I think, oh, my webinars, contribution to the world. What if I have no idea how the interconnectedness of life operates? So my answer to that question is, first of all, recognize that there is fear when you're looking at the unknown. That is already a level of awareness. When you're not seeing it, the only thing you can do is to respond in the way in which fear would want you to respond. But when you see it, it's like, okay, so there is something that I don't know, and something in me is choosing to populate it with something scary. Seeing that, then you can also shift and make a choice to say, okay, and what if a stranger is just a friend that I haven't met yet? Another thing that I found really, really inspiring and powerful in my career as an actor when dealing with improvisation is to discover how refreshing and powerful the unknown space can be. Stepping into the unknown is scary, but it's a little bit like nude bathing. You know, it's like, it feels strange at the beginning, but then when you do it, after a while, it's like, oh, actually, this is really nice. It's a strange metaphor, but forgive me for it. So what can I do when I'm facing with the fear of what I don't know? Again, it would also depend on the specifics of what you're working on. But by and large, there is an underlying assumption, which is what I don't know will be bad for me. And my challenge to you would be, can you state with absolute certainty that that is true, that what you don't know will be bad for you? Because if you can't, then that opens up the other possibility. And somewhere in you, you will be choosing to connect to the unknown, to relate to the unknown in one of those two ways. Again, if we had time, I could tell you many stories of instances where it felt like the world came crashing down, like I was, you know, thrown into hell. And then life showed me, and this is why. And I was like, thank you. Makes sense. But that is also a level of faith. Either we trust life or God, or, you know, whatever higher reference you choose for yourself. if you trust it, then you trust it fully. You trust it always. We cannot only trust it when it's convenient. You know, the saying, if you don't invite God or Allah in the summer, he will not come in the winter. So, you know, whether it's, it doesn't have to be God or Allah, it can just be life. You know, if you don't trust it in the summer, you cannot only trust it in the summer when things are going well. That's a little bit like marrying someone, but only being with them if they are nice to you or pleasant. And when they're being a pain, you just go, no. Does that answer your question? I can't see you anymore.
I'm back, Simon. Sorry, my internet connection is really bad.
Sure. No,
yeah, I got you for the most part of it. Lovely, thank you so much.
Question?
I'm sorry, brother. Yes,
Sure.
for the most part that I've heard. Yeah, thanks.
Great. I hope it gives you something to work with, even if you know, it's a little impulse.
Not at all. Thank you very much. Lovely. Ta.
Pleasure. Any other questions, or are we good to close?
One last one, Simon.
Yeah.
It's from Francisca. Francisca, I'm just going to read your question. Do you think we can transmit spiritual intelligence to others? I mean, is it contagious, or one should learn it on purpose to have it? Well, that's the question.
I think you already know the answer to that. And my sense is that you probably are already infecting other people with your spiritual intelligence. Would that be a fair assumption? Please feel free to unmute yourself. And, you know, sometimes all that needs to happen in a session is for something to crystallize in our consciousness that, yes, it is so. We carry so many doubts, so many self-doubts. And then because there's the doubt, we are not fully, we're not moving clearly and fully in that direction because of the doubt. And the number of times I've experienced in a session where all the client need, they already have the answer. All they need is for their consciousness to go, oh yeah, that is the answer. We love to play the I am confused game. Sometimes it's not about doing what you, knowing what to do. Sometimes it's about doing what you know. And by doing what you know, it'll take you somewhere. So, but yeah, it is certainly something that can be developed. So in a similar way, someone can be born with musical talent. That doesn't necessarily mean that they can play the piano. For them to play the piano, they need to practice. So spiritual intelligence. So we are all born spiritual. We all have it. But spiritual intelligence is something that you exercise and practice and develop. It's exactly the same as developing your body, lifting weights. What kind of spiritual weights am I choosing to lift? Which is what you are doing when you go to the gym. You're choosing to lift a heavy thing. You know, you ask a child, they'll go, are you crazy? Why are you lifting the heavy thing? But there's a choice there. And the beauty is that oftentimes life will bring us the exact weight that is perfect for us. And in a sense, you can almost see it as a backhand compliment. The bigger the challenge, the heavier the weight, it's almost like life giving you a vote of confidence and saying, yes, you can lift this weight. How do we know? Well, would you give a chainsaw to a 3-year-old? Would you give a 3-year-old a challenge that they cannot accomplish? Would you give a 3-year-old like a mathematical equation to solve? No, you give them what they can succeed with. But it's a challenge. It's on the edge of where they're at. I find life is probably the most advanced and free for all training program we can ever sign up for.
Okay. Simon, we're really stretching the time, but
really stretching the time, and I'm so grateful for everybody staying so long. That in and of itself is a beautiful acknowledgement for be here. You will, if you're interested in moving forward, you will receive an email with details on how to continue this journey, if that's where your inspiration is. Do you have any closing remarks, Fauzia or Faiza? Anything you would like to say before we finish?
I just want to say thank you very much for everyone who are still here, and also, you know, the people who have been around with us since we begin at 8:30. Now it's almost 11. Thank you so much. It's on a Saturday evening for us, for you as well, Simon, on a Saturday morning and afternoon. And I want to again say that I believe that there are no accidents in life. You know, we are meant to be, each and every one of us, on this platform tonight, and something must be calling us for the fact that we are here. And I hope if it's not a lot, even if it's just one particular point that can give you an aha moment while you are with us, with Simon, to us that is already a measure of success. Ochi, Fauzia, you have anything to say?
Ya, oke. Terima kasih Kak Faiza. Saya juga ucapkan terima kasih untuk teman-teman dari Indonesia yang sudah bergabung, dan mudah-mudahan bisa dapat manfaatnya ya, belajar selama 90 menit bersama Simon. Simon, I hope you can understand what I say because I mentioned.
I can't, but I'm really enjoying the sound of it.
Oke, jadi teman-teman, ini pengalaman yang berharga karena kita bisa dapat perspektif tentang spiritual intelligence, dan jika teman-teman ingin tahu lagi nanti lebih detail, nanti saya akan menghubungi teman-teman tentang program yang akan kita jalankan bersama Simon. Once again, thank you Simon, thank you Kak Faiza, and thank you all participants for staying late tonight, because in East Indonesia is already close to 11 p.m. at night. So thank you everyone for joining.
Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, thank you.
Great.
Thank you,
Saturday
Hisham,
Night
as well.
Fever.
Yeah. We would like to thank Hisham as well on behalf of Protege, Roslina, Ina, Haja, myself, and also Fauzia and Simon, for you to come and share your experience. Thank you very much, Hisham.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Just want to leave you with a little inspiring quote. And the quote is this. There is a force in the universe which, if we permit, will flow through us and produce miraculous results. And that was by Gandhi, who did just that. But also, great things are done by a series of small things brought together. And that's exactly what Vincent van Gogh did when he created his masterpieces. And lastly, this is by Don Quixote. He was a dreamer, a crazy man. And I love this quote: "The world will be better for this, that one person, scorned and covered with scars, rose with the last ounce of courage to dream the impossible dream." Thank you all for coming today, and bless you on your evening, on your weekend. We look forward to having you and seeing you in the program, if that's where your inspiration goes. Many blessings. Speak soon.
Thank you everyone. Thank you Simon. Thank you Faiza. Terima kasih.
Thank you.
Thank you. We didn't take a
take a picture. Take a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should take a picture.
Please stick around, whoever who are still around. We want to take a photo. You can. Who's doing it? Ina, are you doing it, Ina?
My team can do it, Kak. Silakan.
Okay.
Team inside.
Let's have your camera on for a while if you can.
Yeah. Put your Yeah, please.
Thank you, guys. Okay. A big smile. 1, 2, 3. Nice. That's 2 frames. The second one again. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mus. Nice to see you
Terima
again.
kasih War, Ananda udah stay sampai semalam ini. Thank you ya.
Thank you, Ken. I love your photo, Ken. You're on the not Mount Everest, ABC, yeah? Everest, EBC, Everest Base Camp.
Yeah.
I like to be there one day, hopefully. We have Dr. Nilam. Thank you, Dr. Nilam.